the trees are gone, poisoning the dawn, blackened skies, don't open eyes, we haven't got too long.
Hello everyone, I am Matthew Thomas with Super Cool Radio, and this is the first interview for Season 2 for 2021. And I got some perfect guests with me at this time. Please welcome Workhorse.
Hey.
Make up Workhorse. This is the original lineup. We have Matt on vocals, Jeff on guitar, and Jay on bass.
How you doing, man?
Thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys.
Yeah.
So I want to start with a very fun question. I'm very curious for you guys. If you had to pick one album that everyone should listen to in their lifetime, what album would you pick?
Ooh, Caius, Return to Sky Valley.
That was, yes.
That's it.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No pressure.
Oh, boy.
I got mine out of the way.
Putting you guys on the spot here with the
Jimi Hendrix, Band of Gypsies.
Oh. All right.
That's a good one. I don't want to go all obscure and weird. I guess sticking with the theme, I guess you got to hear Super Judge by Monster Magnet.
Ooh, there you go.
Ooh.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Monster Magnet, I think they're pretty underrated, honestly, for because I only started listening to them like a few years ago. So
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I started. When were you born?
Me?
Yeah.
97.
I was listening to them 3 years before you were born.
Yeah, we were covering their songs before you were born.
Yeah. We only had a few originals, and we had to play a gig. So I think we played 2 Monster Magnet songs in like 95, maybe. 94? 95?
Yeah.
Which one did you go with to cover?
Nod Scene, and was there another one? Maybe it was only one. There was 2 Clutch songs and a Monster Magnet song and like 2 Grunge Truck songs or something like that.
Yeah.
And a Soundgarden.
Right.
And Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
I think we only had 1 original, maybe.
That was just the first week we got together, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Nod Scene by Monster Magnet. That was the one that we thought we could pull off live.
Here's the whole set list. We have 1 original.
Yeah.
That song's like 10 minutes long or something.
Plus, nobody knew any of those songs, so they just thought it was us.
Yeah.
Wow. These guys
helps.
wrote a lot of cool songs.
That's actually very clever.
Yeah.
It is.
That's very clever.
Yeah.
It's like Metallica playing old like budgie songs and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
All we needed was just 1 spinny light behind us with some fog, and it was all over, man.
Perfect setup.
It was awesome.
For me, I'm going to go Iggy and the Stooges' Raw Power.
Oh, yeah.
That is the album.
Of course. Respect. Go ahead.
Oh, you have to, especially, I mean, I really enjoy Iggy Pop, but just that Raw Power album is just, it's Raw Power.
It is.
Sums it up perfectly. But I want to talk about, obviously, we're talking about with Workhorse, and this is the original lineup. So, like, how did you guys come together to form Workhorse?
Well, we were all dating the same girls from the same family for a long time, married them all, so we're still around each other.
We're brothers.
How did it happen originally?
Yeah, back in the 90s, yes.
I think it was Jay found. Didn't you see I was playing it in a band in a park or something?
I caught Jeff playing down in a park in Mount Pleasant, Michigan with a band, and I was floored when I saw him play. And the drummer I was playing with at the time, we were like, "Wow, we got to like meet this guy." And I think we found out he worked at a music store in Alma, and we showed up one day like with a demo tape saying, "Hey, buddy, check this out and come jam with us someday."
He couldn't have been more than like 17 or 18.
Yeah, he was still in high school.
I was
at the
17, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Back in 19...
we took him to the bar, hung out at the bar.
Corrupted him a little bit, and the rest was history.
But then, so Jay and I started playing together with a few, a different drummer and a different singer, and things didn't really work out. We met Joe, who's not here, and we were playing with Joe, And when the other singer didn't quite work out, Matt was living with Joe at the time. And this would have been like early 94, I think, right?
Yeah.
And Matt came over, and
I think we just came over to
hang out.
Just to hang out, and we knew some of the songs. I knew some words to some songs. If I remember right, I think a few other people knew songs, and we just kind of messed around on the mic. And I think the next week, Joe goes, you should sing with us. I'm like, I wasn't doing that. We were just hanging out on a Sunday, smoking a little ganja and drinking and hanging out in their basement while they were rehearsing. Next thing you know, we're a band. So
that was
cool.
That was in the good old days when it was pretty organic, though. You know, just
Sundays.
You made jam time, and you rehearsed and just played and had fun, and
friends came over.
We were getting together a couple times a week, and we were all tight and right in the same location. So we, things went fast. It's like once we got together, it seems like songs were rolling quick,
And the crowd started picking up quick.
Yeah, and we were productive, and when you can get together 4 guys at least twice or more a week just to practice, and then you're playing a gig or so a week as well, you get tight,
And it was a cool music scene where we were at Central Michigan University.
Yeah.
And there was a really cool scene. There was a lot of good, of good musicians,
lot.
But everybody was doing something totally different. There was a band called Botfly that was kind of weird, funky, but like kind of like corn or something. It was weird. And then Knee Deep Shag was a full-on funk, and there was just like what was a Bent Lucy. There was just weird stoner stuff, all kinds of crazy stuff. No two bands alike. And then we came out with what we were doing.
But a lot of those bands were coming up from Detroit or Grand Rapids and Lansing and playing Rubbles, which is the bar we frequented a lot. So there was kind of a hub in the middle of the state where a lot of bands came up from the bigger cities.
And a really eclectic kind of scene. It was like, Seattle was doing what was there, but what was happening in Mount Pleasant was very much like that. It was like no two bands sounded alike, and everybody was digging each other. And
we'd have shows with other original bands, and they didn't all have to sound like the same band.
Not at all. Yeah.
We'd have a funky band play, and then we'd come out in a heavy band, and they didn't all have to be exactly the same genres. As long as they were good and they were cool, everyone seemed like appreciated just good music.
It was a good time, man.
It seems like you don't see as much of that right now. It seems like if they have a local show, it's like all 3 bands or so sound pretty similar.
I have noticed that. Like, I was watching a documentary about, like, I know you're not ska music, but I was watching a documentary on ska music, and they were saying, like, you would have a punk show, but you would have a ska band open the punk show.
Right.
So, like, different, as you said, like, different genres coming together to have a show.
It was weird. No matter how heavy or not heavy there was this real hippie vibe that was going on in Mount Pleasant. It was just like everybody kind of came together in a real commune kind of way, and it allowed you to, and everybody was proud of being unique. So that was way different than what's now. I mean, the way you go at it now is you try to be like somebody else because it's happened 1,000 times and it works, right? Back then, if you sounded like somebody else, you were an outcast. That's not what you wanted to do. You wanted to sound, you struggled to be unique back then. And that was what was cool about it.
I didn't struggle.
No, you were definitely. We didn't either. Yeah.
And what's kind of the music scene up in Mount Pleasant right now, 2021?
No idea, man.
Oh, really?
We played a show last year about this time, right before COVID hit, and we're like, well, let's just do it, man. At this point, we don't need anything anymore. Let's just do it for the fun of it, and we did, and just the place was jammed. Blew the roof off the place. So you don't know after 20, 25 years if you can still have that kind of impact. And it was a madhouse, man. It was cool. But that's what Rubbles was. I mean, it didn't matter. I remember going to see a Kiss tribute band in there, and the place was just a madhouse, like pyrotechnics, and they caught the ceiling tiles on fire. Just like, that's what the place was, man. It was like somebody's crazy basement every time somebody played.
Crowd surfing, kicking out ceiling tiles and shit.
But in those days too, the big night was Thursday night.
Yeah.
And it was like an original night. Usually weekends were cover bands, but Thursday night was the big night where the younger crowd wanted to come out, which is really, really cool. And you'd have 3 bands. You'd play till 2 o'clock in the morning, and nobody wanted to leave.
Yeah,
it was fun.
No ceiling tiles left in the place. I mean, they're on the. I mean, just destroy the place, man. It was awesome.
Well, if there's ceiling tiles in the venue, then you're not doing something right then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but how did you come up and develop the name Workhorse? Like, how did that come to be?
Man, Jay, do you remember you?
It was on
that book or something, Joe.
Well, yeah, but it was a paper towel.
Oh,
I think that was the original.
For what?
yeah, that's.
It was on a
hilarious.
paper towel
picker
box.
upper?
It was called Workhorse paper
Yeah.
towels.
Yeah,
And I think we actually even stole the logo off the paper towel box and printed it.
yeah.
We
That was
did,
the font
for
we used.
posters.
Yeah, it was.
Like
it was
before there was
these
any.
heavy duty shop rags. They were made at this by Kimberly Clark. That made,
Yeah.
and then holy
Right.
crap, and that's where we got the name. It was funny.
When
We
you made
took the logo
posters
straight
by
off of it.
using scissors and taping things to paper and find a
But the-
picture of
but-
Superman and then tape a mushroom on his chest and put Workhorse
Yeah.
across the top. And,
I think back
You
in
know.
those days, like that, I think you brought it up and somebody did, and it just the name felt just right
Yeah.
for the way we sounded at the time.
and I do remember, Joe reading the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. It was a book at the time, and there was a passage in that book about working hard and feeling good and workhorse and intercourse. So he identified with that. He's like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test was like the ultimate stoner book for like the culture at the time, and he was reading it, and it jived with him too. So I remember him like seconding the motion, like, yeah, I just read this in this book, man. And that was cool. So
Well, I don't think you got any cease and desist letters from the Workhorse paper
No.
towel company,
Yeah.
did
no.
They were cool.
you? I honestly, I've never heard that brand, so I don't even know is that still around? Is that still a thing?
I think that might have been like an industrial
Yeah,
thing.
they were made
yeah.
by the Kimberly Clark, which they've got
That's a
they've
big
got a
company.
factory up in like Marquette, Michigan, or not Marquette, but Munising. There used to be a paper
Yeah.
factory up there. Yeah,
It's not something you buy at Costco.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
something you buy at the
Yeah.
store.
Yeah, I got you guys. But so the Workhorse I'm talking to, this is the original lineup, correct?
Right,
Right,
correct.
right.
Yeah.
So you guys, when did you guys get back together as the original lineup?
I can't even think. It was
Well, it was the summer before, the fall before COVID hit. So that would have been what?
2019.
yeah.
Yeah, 19. I think we all talked
Yeah.
about. We were at because we all married sisters, the three of us.
Three of us.
We were at our nephew's wedding, and it's kind of was in the air for a minute. And I think it was Jay finally said, "Why don't we just set a date and get together?" And
And I think it was because of the 25th anniversary coming
yeah, it
up.
was
or
right.
like, well, you know what? Maybe we should try it again, man. Let's.
I
Just
mean, because
see.
the three of us have seen, of course, we see each other. I've seen Matt more because we did other the projects after, but we all see each other at holidays and different things. And it was always, I think we always in the back of our heads thought about it because it was really fun back in that. And Joe, the drummer, moved back to Michigan
Right.
from Colorado. And then I think that's when it really caught fire is because he
kind of pushed it to do it as well.
He did, yeah. And we just kind of said, let's set a date and we all have to be there and see how it feels. And we did, and we got together at my house, my old house in our studio, and we literally, like, I think ran through that whole record top to bottom with not even stopping because everybody
It was like
prepared.
we just played it last week. It was weird.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And then we're like, yeah, I guess we should do a show for sure.
Right. I've always been fairly confident, but going into that first rehearsal, because that's a totally different
Yeah.
monster to sing that stuff and the way we used to go at it. I mean, it was like as soon as the first drum hit, I'm in the crowd, man. I'm gone, you know, like, and I'm like, for us to do this right, we got to do it maybe like that, you know. I'm like, God, I'm gonna have a heart attack. This could be the end of me if I do this thing. And we got through that first, played the whole album, like I think front to back, really.
Right.
We just knew what was, you know, the next song, and it was just like riding a bike, man. It was like no problem. So there was some genetics there or something that my voice was supposed to be able to sing like that pretty easily because it's heavy stuff and
A lot
I
of
think
muscle movement and chemistry.
yeah, man.
Coming back together.
I was
Muscle memory and chemistry.
personally worried about it. I was worried about Joe, our drummer, for the cardio part of it because, you know, I mean, at 25 years later, you're not the same
Well, and Joe's
rubber person you were when you were, you know, in 95 when you could just.
and
keep
he's
it
been
snap.
doing like major. got into. He was like an arborist. He was doing major chainsaw stuff, using his hands, and he has carpal tunnel issues, and he was really worried about being able to do that. And he was pretty timid originally, but then he worked it out. He just, he said he felt fine. So,
and since you guys, got back together in 2019, how does it feel talking to you guys 2021 about being together? Like,
we're ready to record another song. We have guitars and drums.
Everything's been weirdly remote. The way things kind of came about was, I think Joe was the first one to say we should do some new songs, and we're all like, "Well, hold on a second,
let's just see if we can play 2 songs back to back."
But then when it was fun, we had some ideas kicking around, and we did them very remotely. Joe, like in a nutshell, it worked out. So we've got another song, kind of, maybe like 40% ready to go, and maybe there'll be more after that. I don't know. It was just, working with Matt for so long, like I just know where his vocals are going to go and things. It just seems like it was making sense that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get it done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so going back to what you're talking about with the live show and about being at least in shape, or thinking you at least get through the songs. Like obviously health plays a factor, especially when you're doing a live show or just studio recordings too.
Yeah,
right.
So and
my fingers didn't fall off, so that was good. Yeah,
I looked over to the side stage at a few people halfway through that set. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna kill me, man. It was, my heart was like 180 beats per minute type shit.
And how did it feel like at that first show when you guys first did your live show back together? Like, where did you play? We
didn't even skip a beat, man. It felt like just time warp.
We played at Rubbles.
We played. We went back to the scene of the crime, man.
Yeah, where it all started. We went back there, and it was an amazing show.
And the place hasn't changed a bit. I mean, even the same lights that, everything is exactly where it was back in '96. We're still doing it. Pulled all the chairs out of the place. Pulled all the tables out. We needed. You don't want them to get broke. You might want to put them in the alley, man. And did it. Moved our lights around so it looked all cool.
And I've never been there, so how big of a venue is that?
About this size right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's tiny. It's like I think the capacity is like 125 or something, 119 or something crazy.
Sounds right.
And I mean, it's way over capacity every time you play the place. Way
they
over.
used to push 250 or
250, 300.
Sides.
Because you stack them double high.
All the chairs and tables out.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy, man. People down that sidewalk around the alley. People out in the alley. Back doors open. It's cool.
Not big, but fun enough at that size for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty magical, man.
Yeah, it's been, I haven't been to a venue like that super small. I've been to some small ones, but nothing like that super small. Especially packing it too. It's probably insane.
This place is pretty legendary. I mean, you had Black Flag and bands like that playing there back in the day, touring, and just same thing, just ripping the place apart, man. So it's a cool vibe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just those smaller venues, there's always something about them.
Yeah.
But you guys were talking about new music. I know you, December, you released The Blazer, the newest single. How was it writing and recording the new single?
Kind of unorthodox, I would say.
Different than we had before, that's for sure.
Yeah. How so?
Yeah, well, back in the day, and I guess that's what I say, back in the good old days, everybody had time we would just get together and you'd spend a whole Sunday and you just eat some food and you jam and you'd come up with ideas, and we wouldn't even record them. You just have to remember them.
Right.
And then do it the next time, and
I remember talking to Jeff way back. He's like, I don't even know what the song's about. Months into even playing it live, doesn't know what the lyrics are, has no idea, because we weren't recording it. We're just like, here's the song, you got your part, I wrote my vocals, and years
I can't
later,
hear what he's saying. I hear the melody, but I can't hear the exact parts, and you're just
it's loud as hell, so you have no idea what's going on. He probably didn't know what some of the songs were about till years later.
After we recorded them. Yeah.
Right. But So in those days, like the first record we did as the four of us, which we only did one, that was, we wrote all those things together, jamming. We rehearsed them, went into the studio for 2 or 3 days and just played them live all together.
Yeah.
And then recorded it, you know, and that's how those things were done back in '95.
Never sat down and analyzed a part. Never really said, hey, maybe
there might have been a time we, worked something out, but barely,
barely,
you just did it till it worked out.
You just said this is the song and that was the song, and then if you were going to come up with another idea, it was another song. It wasn't like you changed that song. You're like, yeah, that one's already done, man.
And now it's, I guess because we're older and everybody's got stuff going on, the process is different. I write a lot of music, so I have a lot of ideas, and I sprung a few on these guys. I'm like, well, I got this riff and this drum beat and this vocal. What do you think about this? And the Blazer was one of them, and they were like, man, I really like that. And I'm like, I can totally hear Myron singing this, and they all were into it. So it was a weird process because we never played that song together yet.
We still haven't played it live.
Which
is way different than what it used to be. I mean, we only played it live.
Created together, and now this one was kind of created and then recorded.
It's almost
separately.
like it was like an idea created, knowing it felt like the way shit used to.
But it was,
And then so I had kind of the basic of it. Jay and Matt came over. Jay did a bass track. Myron did his vocal. Joe sent me a drum track remotely, which I mixed and just put it all together, and it turned out pretty good.
It sounded like Workhorse.
It felt like, it worked out, which it'll probably be similar to the process we'll do on the next tune we're working on right now. But
which we thought we should have just recorded tonight since we're here. We could have done vocals and bass with this. You could have sang some backups for us.
Hey, I would totally be in to do
it. Gang vocals.
Hey, I love to be on the track. I don't know what I'm doing, and I've never sung before, but I'm sure I got it.
Join the club, man. I started too.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the Blazer. Jeremiah was actually telling me about it. He's like, hey, you should really check out this new single. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I really like, it was kind of like, spoken at the beginning of it. And I thought that was really cool. It was very intriguing to me.
Right on.
And then it's a really great hard rock and jam, in my opinion.
To give you an idea, like that part of the track, that spoken thing, I called Myron and said, just send me some cool shit. Like, just send me a voice memo. And so that first part of the song is him sending me a voice memo.
I'm off my iPhone and just texting it to him.
Yeah, so that's what
he dumped it in.
So that whole first part of the song and the parts in the middle of the bridge, that's him just speaking into his phone and sending it to me.
It was another set of lyrics for maybe another verse that could have happened or whatever, and he wanted something kind of unique for that part. So I sent it to him as a voice memo, thinking, well, what do you think of this? And he's like, I already put it in, man. Like, it was already, he put it in the song as that voice memo. I'm like, whoa, right on. It came out cool. So we never even tracked it.
That's really cool, though, how you can use like different forms of media to add to the song. Like, I mean, to me, it made it stand out, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, we've always dug that. I mean, you listen to the first Workhorse album. If you put a set of headphones on, you can hear stuff like that in the background. There's different spoken word stuff with echoes, in the solo sections, and that's always been something we have enjoyed doing. So,
and as a listener, I really enjoy hearing that stuff. Just as you were saying, doesn't sound like everybody else.
Right.
And you guys were talking about this. You recorded this a different way than what you guys did back then. But like, how else have you guys, in your opinion, the music industry has changed in the last 20+ years?
Well, the copycat thing for sure. We already touched on that. I mean, that's just it really was striving to be unique back then. I mean, that was the number one thing. It wasn't even you're trying to write the greatest song in the world. You were trying to not be like somebody else. That was your main goal. You wanted to be odd. You wanted to be different. Unique, and that went for bands like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and Monster Magnet and Rage Against the Machine, whoever. They were doing there was nobody else that sounded like Alice in Chains. Nobody sounded like Rage. That was their thing. And the reason was because nobody else, you were trying to do your own thing, man. You weren't trying to sound like Rage Against the Machine. You were trying to sound like you, man. Now that's just completely gone out the window. Everybody's trying to sound like somebody in the industry that made it, and it sells some downloads or whatever. You know, I mean, it started with sales of, you know, whatever.
I think it's a lot of that, and also I was just driving down here, realizing how everybody's good now. Like, there's no like distinction. I mean, there's a million. I was just telling Jay, like, as a broad spectrum, I like stoner rock. So if I go on Spotify, listen to stoner rock, I'm like, that's good. You go through 100 bands, you're like, man, those are all really good. Yeah. And you realize, like, none of them are sticking out, but they're all really good. They all kind of sound like Caius and Sleep, but
yeah, I just listened to Dragon
very few. Every once in a while, one sticks out, and you got to like make note of it and stuff. But I think it's just like record. Everybody can record now, and with the internet, everybody knows everybody's riffs and everything. Like back in the early '90s, you didn't have that luxury. You kind of had to figure your own shit out, or you learned it wrong and created something new.
Right. And not only can everybody record now, everybody can sound amazing. Like, even just sort of okay guitar player, okay drummer, you fix it all, right?
You don't have to sing.
You had to be great to be recording anything back then. Otherwise, you knew it. You couldn't fix it. You weren't fixing. You weren't auto-tuning vocals. You weren't doing a million overdubs because it cost $1 million. You had to do it right. So you had to be really good to be recording. Not so anymore. I mean, I'm not a good guitar player or drummer at all. I could probably go record a pretty good album if I had Jeff engineering it for me. Like, I could cut a riff. I could probably play some goofy drum beat, and he could make it sound like $1 million.
And depending on the genre too, you know, maybe you don't see that as much in bands that are staying kind of true to form, and they're rolling with shit and doing a good job. But even when they are doing that, there's a million of them, you know. So it's hard to say there isn't good and bad, because there's just so much good stuff. Whether it's unique or not, I guess that's the key. But it's not like you're reinventing the wheel at this point. There's only so many rock chords and so many rock drums, and everybody kind of wants to make it sound like that, you know.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying, and especially as you said, there's a lot of good bands, but there's not that many that like stick in your head or like unique or have that kind of charisma or whatever, you know, about them. That it all sounds good, which, I mean, it all sounds solid because of the technology or whatever they're using.
Like when you say like a band like Raw Power, like that Stooges record, like that, I think would have stood out if there's a Raw Power that came out now. I don't know, like it might stick out, it might not, or people might. What's going to make you stick out? I don't know. You can't shock anybody anymore, so I don't know what the new shock is to make people notice.
Well, and back then too, an album came out. It was maybe the only album that came out that week, right? Yeah. There's 9,000 albums coming out, or song. Maybe not so much. The COVID mess, but you know, I mean, up till now, I mean, it was just like you're just flooded constantly with new stuff every minute. You're like, I can't even catch on to anything. I'm just gonna go back to Caius, you know.
But everybody's got their favorites, you know. I mean, I think bands like Baroness are really keep reaching, and I like that. And there's a band called All Them Witches. There's always there's definitely bands that are pushing stuff farther, I think, a little bit, even if they're staying kind of in certain genres. But that's what keeps me saying, I guess, you know, is finding a few of those, and then you get stuck on them for like a year, and you're like, God, thank God they're good. I like this.
Right.
But, and yeah, I mean, I think everyone kind of goes to like their go-to music. But I mean, with all the stuff coming out, as you said, there's a bunch of albums always coming out. There's a bunch of singles always coming. I think singles, like you hear like every week someone dropped a new single, or like someone else, you know, dropped a new single. And that's kind of where like I think the industry is going, especially with like Spotify saying that we're really going to push singles, that albums don't really happen that often.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever. I think the CEO was talking about that he was really pushing singles instead of albums. I really enjoy albums, so like I kind of
agreed. I think had the luxury of having more time together, we would put out a whole album. It wouldn't be a song here or there. I think it's just our time together, and this is our best way to utilize it, is putting a song out.
Talking to you instead of recording an album, man.
I'd love to be part of it now. All right, so you know, we're talking about a lot of different music right now, and this kind of just segues perfectly in what I was about to talk about. And I'm curious, just for you guys, since the bands you've been talking about, what music have you listened to this week?
That's funny. I just listened to Sleep today. I probably haven't listened to Sleep in ages. And that Dragknot song came out. I'm like, here we go, Spotify. Let's listen to Sleep for like 2 hours. So
that's good.
You know, that one's great. And then over the last, maybe it was within the last couple weeks, I don't know if you caught on to the song that the singer from Clutch recorded with the 12-year-old kid and his dad. They wrote like it's a dad homeschool. Yeah. So Neil Fallon from Clutch, he got an email from a dad that, my son's 12 and he writes Clutch riffs, and we cover a bunch of Clutch songs. So he heard them. He's like, oh, that's awesome. Would you record vocals for one of our cover songs, right? And they said, well, maybe we have an actual Clutch kind of original song. So they sent it to Neil, and he wrote vocals and recorded it and sent it back to him. And it's brilliant, man. I mean, it's like the coolest shit I've heard from Clutch in years.
The 12-year-old kid plays like guitar and bass on it, and his dad plays the drums. And then there's Neil laying on the vocals.
Do some homework tonight, man. You'll trip.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I like Clutch. Yeah.
So, and the kids just tearing. I mean, you listen to the song, like, that's a badass riff, man. Like, and of course, Neil's interview is like, what did I get myself into, man? I shouldn't, this could be a disaster. And it was great. Sounds like, something way early Clutch that this kid wrote. And he wrote vocals for it about homeschooling and, all the crap going on right now. So it was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What'd you listen to this week, Jay?
Like Jeff's saying, most of my favorite stuff is stoner rock bands, but I've listened to a lot of different things. So like this week, I listened to Rory Gallagher, Rolling Stones, Gaius, Queens of Stone Age.
Quite a slew.
Yeah. Those are just in like probably the last 2 days.
I've been trying to push things. Like I got it, like John Brannon, who's singer of Negative Approach. He was in singer Laughing Hyenas. So I got back into like Laughing Hyenas this week, and some weird like Jesus Lizard and Unwound, and like I like that kind of
like all them witches that you mentioned. Yeah, those guys are cool.
Well, we just went through a whole Jack White barrage before we logged on with you with
Dead Weather,
all that stuff. Just
Jack White, he's really good. Like,
he's badass.
Insanely good.
He's okay. Yeah, he's okay.
He knows what he's doing.
Maybe just a little bit. Yeah, he's all right. But yeah. This week I'm listening to obviously Iggy and the Stooges, Raw Power. I actually listened to. I really enjoyed his post-pop depression album. That was in 2015.
That record's great.
Yeah. Well, that was with Queens with Josh of Queens of Stone Age.
It's like half of Queens of the Stone Age and Iggy,
that sound they created was just. I mean, that whole vibe. I just can't really describe it. But that is a really good album.
Yeah, it is. It's a total like it's like a scene in time kind of record, which is total Iggy.
Totally.
Like
Yes, it is.
Like The Passenger, like that whole era of shit. Like that's what it makes me think of.
He's a trip, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. I really want to see him live. I don't know if I'll ever get that chance, but I really want
to hang out with him in Italy for a weekend. So before Ron Ashton passed away, it was cool.
That was wild.
Yeah,
it was our other band, but that's another story.
But we got to meet him, and he's every bit of a trip, man, that you can imagine. So
yeah, I bet. And for anyone, I'm going to jump back to the Blazer real quick. For anyone who hasn't listened to Blazer yet, what can they expect?
Old 90s stoner rock, man, for sure. That was what we were shooting for,
I mean, I think like Monster Magnet has always been a hero of ours. That's what it invokes to me. It feels like kind of maybe something off like Dopes to Infinity or something like a
Super Judge, that era.
Yeah, like that kind of
spoken.
Yeah, a little bit of weirdness, but kind of a good pop like structure. Like it feels like it doesn't feel hard to follow, It not in a bad way, but it's like just feels like it moves and
what we loved listening to when we had a good buzz, that's exactly what it was. What we wrote.
To me it just seems like something you want to turn up loud and show your buddies kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. If anyone hasn't listened to Blazer, I highly recommend you guys do that because it's just killer. It's just a killer song. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'm here with Workhorse, the original lineup, hanging out, chatting with them. I got one more thing before we go, though. What can we expect from Workhorse for it's a brand new year, 2021. What can we expect?
I built a bar in my yard. I can imagine we're going to play there live this summer.
If things aren't opening up, we're having
Nothing's open. I
Fest.
shit you not. I'm sitting here trying to figure out. I've got the patio. I've got this deck against the house. I'm against a stage. We had mobs of people hanging out at our house.
You're definitely invited.
Yeah, man.
Happens, so.
Live.
Workhorse Fest
Live.
on the river.
The neighbors are cool. We're on the Muskegon River. It's just
I'm in.
cool. Yeah, it's like a campground, man.
I think that is a good chance that's going to happen.
Pretty good chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll check with my wife, but I don't think she has a whole lot of say in it. But it'll just sort of happen. It's like, you didn't tell me there was 80 people sitting in the back patio, but whatever.
They won't be sitting.
No.
Just don't just leave the house for today. I got some stuff to work on.
Yeah.
My people will call your people. We'll have a barbecue.
Yeah. That's with until everybody's kind of figuring out this COVID thing. Like
Nothing's gonna happen.
I went through a period where I didn't care much about. I loved playing, but like I was a little burnt out. But now, of course, because I can't play out, I'm like dying to just stand up and put a guitar across my shoulders. I don't even have to do that right now. It's like
really loud.
Yeah, just something like something not in front of a computer screen, writing. I want to do something a little more in the moment. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully that's where we're heading.
I got the spot, man, for sure.
Yeah, we
got it all dialed in. The bar's still stocked.
We played the reunion show, and a month later, I was laying tracks for the Blazer, and then COVID shutting everything down. It kind of shut down plans of us playing anymore for the year, and it's kind of a bummer. So we're hoping for things to open up, like you said, or not.
Who cares? We got a bar in our yard,
right?
Like a real bar.
Now, I've also heard rumors. I don't know if you want to confirm that you guys are working on vinyl with the second song.
I would, that's my personal, whatever it costs. I don't care if we recoup it. Something I've wanted forever, and I'm gonna get vinyl done somehow, some way.
But it would be fun to have something on vinyl.
I want the yellow plastic. I don't want black vinyl. I want yellow or orange or red. I want the double jacket.
Cool artwork splatter. That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen the clear vinyl? Those look cool.
Yeah. Yellow has always been the one. I'm like, that'd be cool. Clear yellow.
Yeah. You haven't made it in the music world unless you get your stuff on vinyl. I mean, it's a proven fact.
You and I discussed this, right?
That's right.
Have you made it yet? I'm like, nope, haven't made it till I have vinyl. So I played some big shows, done all kind, signed record deals, all that. I still haven't made it, man. Not till I have vinyl. Jeremiah, he'll help us.
We've made cassette.
We did make a lot of cassettes.
That's funny.
8-track?
We're halfway to vinyl, man. It's a backwards track.
We made cassettes.
We had an EP cassette before we were midway recording Dopamine.
Yeah. We used to stick
this is our unmastered demo.
We used to stick all kinds of bullshit in there. We'd sign dollar bills and put them in there. And I'm sure I've talked to people over the years like, dude, I got a cassette from you in '95 that had a dollar bill with a pot leaf drawn on it. And
George Washington had glasses. And
marketing geniuses, man.
If anyone wants tips on marketing, talk to these guys right here.
I got ideas. You got to be in 1995 for them to work, but I got ideas.
Exactly.
Or we'll bring 1995
today.
We'll fax you these ideas.
When we send you vinyl, it's going to have a dollar bill in it. I'm going to draw a big pot leaf on it.
Yeah.
It's yours. Personalized.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, and it's going to get me hooked on Workhorse. I got a dollar bill with a pot leaf on it.
Yes. I got you, man.
Now, do you guys have anything on 8-track?
Yes, I do. I have one of our albums on 8-track.
That is kind of funny.
I do.
It's not a
And it's a
Workhorse,
working.
right?
It's a working. After Workhorse, we went on and did Dirty Americans, and I have an 8-track of that. So maybe we have to do an 8-track of Workhorse too.
Didn't you
I
just
know a
say-
guy who he did it for us.
My dad's got 8-track players.
That is
so.
so ironic.
Yeah.
Jeremiah's here, and he just told. I forgot. He just told me he's got a working thing he can transfer stuff to 8-track.
Hey,
So
Yeah.
right? We're going backwards, man.
Whatever media source you need.
we're gonna make it sound as
Yeah.
shitty as possible.
It'll click the second track in the middle of a song. It'll,
Right?
it'll be right in the middle.
Chunk, chunk. I used to have the Statler
Because I have
brothers.
the place.
Chunk, Alabama. Chunk, chunk.
Yeah. Okay.
Will the 8-track come with a signed dollar bill too?
Yes.
That'll be a $2 bill.
Yeah.
$2 bill, yes.
Yep.
People
I don't know.
It'll be a fucking loony from Canada.
I still have an 8-track. We bought this house on the Muskegon River, and they had an old Ford stereo from a Ford truck wired into the house with speakers running around. It was an 8-track, and they left all their 8-tracks, Santana and Hendrix and all that kind of
You
stuff.
remember that, Jay?
Cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. I felt so bad. We started remodeling and pulled all
I
that
can't
out.
believe you pulled that
I still have the 8-track player though, so we might have to. We could mount that in the bar.
out. Dude, I
Pop it in.
I
the
bought him
wall.
a big
That would
box
be
of
cool.
8-tracks that time.
Yeah.
Remember? Did you save them?
Yeah, I got all the 8-tracks. Steely Dan.
See,
Santana.
we're
You
brainstorming.
got to come to
Oh,
Myron's
yeah,
Bar this
come
summer.
over.
Yep.
I'm gonna have
Workhorse Live and on 8-track.
Yeah,
but mostly I'm there for the 8-track.
right. We'll pop it right in the wall because it had a switch. Remember you turned the
Dude.
power on.
Yeah, now we know what our next project is. So that's great.
Good job. Nice job,
Good
Matt.
work bringing that up.
That is what I do. This is why people tune into Super Cool Radio, for the wacky stuff I come up with.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me.
Yeah, man.
The plays are available on all digital platforms, so check that out. It's fantastic.
No.
And I'm with the original lineup of Workhorse, Matt, Jeff, and Jay. And of course, I'm Matthew Thomas with Super Cool Radio. Thank you for watching.
Adios.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, everyone, for watching the very first interview for Season 2 of Super Cool Radio, chatting with Workhorse. And I have a very special treat for all the viewers out there. We're going to play a very short teaser for the latest single, The Blazer. And make sure if you like this video, please support Super Cool Radio. We have these really awesome t-shirts on Endeavor After. The link will be in the description. Here is a short teaser of The Blazer by Workhorse.